gonna wish you had this. Oh yeah. Safety first. What, you didn't think I was gonna put those tiny tires back on this? Survival. Here we have an Old Man Emu 2.5-inch lift kit I purchased from Rocky Road Outfitters. If you have the extra money, I'd recommend having them assemble your struts for you with the new hardware. This kit seems pretty legit, and it's not a wallet buster. Now this right here is what happens when you live way out in the woods for 2 years. Check out these factory shocks. Be sure to use some good jack stands. If your Lexus has lived most of its life in the north, you may need to cut some stuff off. The big ugly airbags come off pretty easy. Just cut the airline and pop that C-clip off the top by simply placing a small pry bar between the frame and the body and putting the tip of the pry bar on the clip and give her a whack. And this is why I don't bother with the airline. Always be sure to clean your mounting surfaces. I use a wire brush. So this bolt is actually about a 1/2 inch too long. When it goes down, it hits the axle housing. Instead of putting a bunch of washers on here, what I'm going to do is cut about a 1/2 inch of threads off. So if they would include 2.5 inch bolts for this instead of 3-inch bolts, we wouldn't have a problem. I looked at a forum and it's been like that for a long time now. You would think they would have caught it, but I'm going to get a hold of the company and let them know that these 3-inch bolts still isn't working. So I found another nut to go on this 3-inch bolt. I have a nut on here so the threads get messed up on the end. When I go to pull this bolt back off, it'll clean those threads up just in case they get messed up while I'm cutting them. I could use my nylon locking nut, but the more you use your nylon locking nut, the less the locking mechanism will actually work. And you want to make sure you leave enough threads for your locking nut to go all the way on past the nylon and allow for your washer that's going to be on there. I'm just going to use this nut as a guide.
After I got both springs up there, I jacked it up just enough until the top of the springs made contact. Then I gave them a little yank to make sure they seated where they were supposed to be. And make sure that the bottom of the springs, the ends of them, are both facing toward the outside, toward your wheels. I used some top-of-the-line spring water to lube the bushings. She popped right in. An 8mm wrench fits on top of the stud to keep it from spinning while tightening the nut. Now it's very important when installing wheel spacers to clean the surface very good and follow the manufacturer's instructions to the T. And if you're not using wheel spacers, congratulations, I'm proud of you. I didn't want to purchase new wheels, so these will do just fine. Boom, the back is done. I gave her a little wiggle to make sure it sounded good. The instructions tell you which fuses to remove for the air suspension system. I'm going to head back home and get some rest, and in the morning I'll come back and finish her up. Before I head out, I got to get my wife some water. Yeah, I know. Fun stuff, huh?
Kerchak likes the snow, huh? Oh, man. Yeah. We almost made it off our property. So now, I walk back. I'm not too far from the cabin. Go get the Jeep. Try to get me winched out.
Yeah, the old Cummins had its go around on the trails too. Those trees just jump right out in front of us out here.
Well, that was fun.
Well, we're going to go ahead and start pulling this control arm off. To get that big bolt out, just unbolt that one 10mm on the wire harness. Then it comes right out with a little work. Don't be scared.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention that you could use a penetrative oil lubricant, something like that, to loosen up your rusty nuts and bolts, especially if you do it. If you put it on there like a day before you start working, especially the nuts on top of your coilovers, all your nuts and bolts. Spray this on, make your life a whole lot easier, especially if you do it sooner than later. Luckily I'm here with air tools, so it's not affecting me too bad, but if you're out in a snowbank or outside in your parking lot doing it with hand tools, you're gonna wish you had this. Nice. The new one's got grease zerks right here to keep these all greased up nicely, where the factory ones did not. And then same with the ball joints. This ball joint's a lot bigger, heavier duty. It's a Moog product with a grease zert in it too, so you can keep them greased. Yeah, because that one's pretty messed up.
The Allen bolts on top of the level sensors are a pain, so I just got one of the outside ones off and pried it up to break it off. You won't be needing that, but if you want to save it, go ahead and take your time. Probably should have pulled the skid plates and sway bar out first. So yeah, be sure to do that first.
I'm going to pull the whole sway bar right out of it.
Be sure to read your instructions very well. You have to put those washers in between both sides of the bushings, otherwise you will have serious play. Yes, 2 washers. That's what the instructions said. I noticed that the grease zerks were loose, so be sure to snug them up. And don't forget to grease them all. Gotta have my smoked salmon. The supplied washer, go ahead and use the factory mount plate. When lifting your Lexus, it puts your CV axles in a small bind, so this simple spacer drops your differential down just a touch to give your axles a much straighter and longer life advantage.
Skid plate closest to these mounts that we just put on. provide, I'm gonna put your lock washer and a flat washer on. And they provide this little 1/2-inch spacer. That way it doesn't hit the diff. In the back of the skid plate, you can just put the original ones back in. Snug these up, and then when you put the front cover on, you're gonna use these 1/2-inch spacers right here also, so it doesn't hit this. Yeah! What, you didn't think I was going to put those tiny tires back on this after putting a lift kit on, did you? Almost 35s, 315, 70, 17. I think it's 34 or 34 and a halves. The reason I did not go with 35, 12 by 12.5 by 17 is because I wanted to get as narrow as possible. We go through some crazy deep snow. We get a lot of snow out here, so the wider the tires, the worse off you are out here in the sticks. But if you just want to be cool, you can get the fat tires and stuff, but this ain't for cool. This is for survival. So yeah, pretty simple, just like you see on YouTube. Figure out how you want to cut it, what's going to look cool, whatever, however you want. I'm going to cut half the bottom of the bumper off. Me, I don't really care. I just like to get it out of the way. Because eventually I'd like to get a steel bumper on the front or an aluminum one with a little bit of a stinger, because sometimes our water level's a little bit over the hood and the ice will be about 3-4 inches thick as we go under. And I need something to break the ice before it hits the headlight and the radiator and stuff. So this bumper will have to go eventually, but I can't afford one right now, so we're just gonna cut this off so I can drive it around. I'm gonna just do something pretty simple. Only needs a little bit off. Boom, cut it off with a cut-off wheel or a Sawzall or whatever, and yeah, this bad boy right here. Safety first. Alright, so this, some people call it an inner fender. Well, it's a splash shield. So mud, snow, and water and everything doesn't go up inside here and fill that up with mud and everything. So instead of cutting that out, taking it out of the way, you really want to leave as much in there as possible because you want it to protect everything and do its job that it's supposed to do. So I got a pretty simple fix for that so you don't cut it, okay? Check it out, simple. Alright, see this bolt right here? Here's a splash shield that bolted to here originally. Plastic clips, pretty simple. That's where it was originally, right there. We want it forward. Let's line up with our bumper back here. So anyway, we're gonna pull this bolt out, 10 millimeter, holding the plastic bumper to that metal bracket. Simple. Now we're going to pull the bumper just down like that. And we're going to slide this in between this bumper and the metal thing that it bolted to, the metal bracket that it bolted to. So you want it lined up with that outer bumper right here. Drill your hole through this plastic piece. See that? Simple as that. You turn it to the left. Clears this. It goes back and hits part of the fender flare. And then it goes up underneath. And it hits that body mount. See that mount up there? Yeah, right there.
I don't recommend using torches unless you've had at least 5,000 years experience. Cars burn down and they burn fast. Just don't do it. A cut-off wheel or a sawzall and a hammer, that's all you'll need. Well, here it is. So far, so good, especially since I busted our Jeep on a gnarly trail. If you want to see that video, go ahead and click on it. And feel free to subscribe. Have a great day.